it's Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a very exciting video that I've been wanting to film for months now, but I couldn't until I finished the series, and that is ranking my favorite Black Dagger Brotherhood books from most favorite to least favorite. So I have all 17 books next to me, and I'm ranking them from what I loved to what I've not so loved. And the factors that go into this, I love the brother that it's about, I love the romance, I love the action, I love the plot. There's a lot that goes into what I love about the book. I might like the main characters, but like their book was really boring, or I didn't like the main characters, but their book was entertaining. So I'm gonna go in, you probably know my top like 3 or 4. I am missing only 3 hardbacks now. So I own 14 of these books in hardback, and I'm missing books 1 and 2 because they're impossible to get as a hardback. And then I also don't have V's book in hardback yet. I bought a collection of 10 of them off of eBay. I think it was 10, it might have been 11 of them for $100, and they were all in perfect condition and included books 3 and 4, which are also really hard to find, and so I spent my money well. I also put my Black Dagger Brotherhood t-shirt on. I'll link this down below. I got it off of Redbubble, I think. Yeah, so I just ordered it. I also made myself a Butch Caldwell police department sweatshirt because I love Butch. Spoiler alert for one of my top favorite books, but I will go ahead and get to my favorite Black Dagger Brotherhood books from the most favorite to my least favorite. Should I start backwards? Maybe it'll be a surprise. Okay, from my least favorite to my most favorite. Alright, so now you gotta stick around to see my favorite guy at the end. So the first book I have, number 17, is not gonna be a surprise. I think the my least favorite 3 are the 3 most recent ones. Makes me really sad to say, but I'll just say, my least 2 favorite are both 3-star reads. Everything else is a 4 or 5 to me. So the first one I have is The Thief. And this is a Sale and Solas story, and I didn't really care about a Sale. I didn't think he was that important of a character, really. He just kind of helped the Black Dagger Brotherhood out, was doing some shady business with some bad people. And then his love interest is a human, and she was a, like, not assassin, but like kind of an assassin. But she was so boring. Like, she had this really cool storyline with him in other books where she was like tracking him, and then he turned around and started tracking her, and I really liked that, but then they were really boring in their own book, so I didn't really like it. Like I said, the couple was pretty boring and I wasn't really into it, so this was my least favorite of all of them. Coming at number 16 is book 17, and that is The Savior. This is a murder story, and this is pretty short compared to all the other ones. It comes in at like less than 5, it's barely over 400, it's 450. And all the beginning ones were like over 600 pages, so this is pretty short. And this one is murder story, like I said, with Sarah. Sarah we've never met. Murder we've only met like briefly way early on in the series, and so these are kind of completely 2 brand new characters. And it was just okay. I was pretty bored. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I had my full review of it. I'll link that down below. And it just like didn't do anything for me. So yeah, kind of boring. And then I feel like it should have ended 100 pages sooner, because what happened with John Matthew at the end should have happened like books ago. So I didn't like how that happened because of what Murder said. I didn't like that was the reason that happened. If you know what happens, you know what I'm talking about. Coming in at number 15 is The Chosen. This one I believe I gave 4. I might have given it 5, but I changed my mind after. This is Cor and Layla's story, and now I really enjoyed their romance, but oh my god, Quinn was annoying. Oh my god, like he almost ruined this book for me by how annoying he was and what that drama added to the story. I thought their romance was really sweet, but it had been building for a long time. This book was a little bit slower. Like, I still gave it, I think, 4.5 stars, but it just like took a while to get there. So this one is lower on the totem pole. And Cor is just very like damaged, but Layla is so sweet that it was just like a sweet romance, which isn't always my favorite. So this one I feel like could probably switch places with The Chosen. I like them kind of equally, but that is Lover Reborn. This is Tor's story. Tor is very damaged, and he's just a jerk in this book to his love interest. I'm blanking on her name, and she goes by 2 different things, so I'm not going to spoil it, but it's just not the best. And this was standing in my way to finally getting to Quinn and Blaze book, so I just wanted to get through it Tor was just annoying. I'm glad he got a happy ending, but like I said, he was mean when he shouldn't have been because he was damaged. Yeah, I get, like, it was horrifying what happened to Wellesley and, like, everything he lost, but I'm like, dude, don't take it out on someone just innocent. But yeah. The next one shouldn't be a surprise. I'm openly honest about how I don't really like this book, and that's Dark Lover. This is the first book in the entire series, and it almost made me not continue the series because I read it, and everybody's like, oh my god, you're gonna love this series. I was reading it at a signing, and strangers came up to me and said, that's an amazing series, you're gonna love it. And I read it, and I was like, it's okay. I feel like if I reread it now, I'd appreciate it a lot more because it was really hard to understand everything and get into the story. I didn't really care about Wrath and Beth, but I love them now, especially their next book's further down in this list, so it's higher towards the top. I like the couple, but as its own book, as the beginning of a series, it was not that shocking to me. It wasn't that, like, good. Like, people said this series is amazing. This is not as amazing as the rest of the book, so that's where this is on my list. But number 12 is probably some general consensus of this person. I was at the book signing that J.R. Ward had for The Savior. It wasn't actually signing, it was just a Q&A event, and she pre-signed all the books. And we were talking, we're like, does anybody have a shirt for this guy? Because, like, no one really likes him. And that is Lover Enshrined. This is Fury's book. Fury is really, like, not relevant for the entire rest of the series. I feel like every other brother has gotten a side plot but Fury. We've gotten another book for Rage, we've gotten another book for Wrath. Z definitely had, like, a side plot. Vicious has had many side plots. And yeah, after those, like, Butch is, like, getting a lot in the Legacy series too, so after all of those, Fury is just kind of, like, left by the wayside. Unless he gets more of the other Legacy books. I'm only on book 2 in the Legacy series, so I have that one and book 3 to read, so he hasn't really gotten a lot of page time anyways, and he's just very broken, but not in an endearing way like Zadis is. He's just, like, weird, and I hated how he was, like, going out of his way to self-harm and, like, mutilate lessers. It was just bizarre, and I was like, I'm not into this at all, and Cormia is just okay. It was kind of a boring romance, and, like, nobody really likes Fury. I think there were, like, she, like, mentioned something about Fury, and there were maybe, like, 3 people that whooped for Fury. Versus all the Vicious and Zadis shirts there. Fury's not really a loved brother. The next one, I feel bad saying this, he's just not my favorite brother, and I don't know why. And my friend Lacey from Book Lovers for Life, this is her favorite brother, and this, I'm like, okay, he's okay, but I don't love him, and that is The Beast by, I keep on trying to say the author. This is Rage's story. I like Rage, he's fun, he's fine, but this book was just okay. Like, it was nice. Him and Mary were working through their problems and meeting Biddy is her name, and it was just okay. It's like, I'm getting into the books that were good, but I didn't love. So these are all 5 out of 5 stars now, and it's just not as much love as I'd had for the other books. So yeah, Rage is fine, he's just not my favorite brother. The next one is King. I am on book 10. So this is The King, this is Wrath's second book, and it was okay too. Like I said, I don't hate Wrath, but I don't love him. Book 1 was further down on this list. Wrath and Beth are really awesome in this book, and I love George, I think is the dog's name. It's really cute. Wrath goes through a lot of crap in this book, and I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't really as romance focused. Wrath was kind of being annoying about children, which is another huge conflict that shows up in these books once these couples are established, if they want kids or not, because it's very dangerous for the Shellen to have a child, because women a lot of times die when having a vampire child, and so I get it, but, like, okay. Yeah, it was good. Now we're getting into ones that I really enjoyed, but, like, not as much as my favorites. So the next one is Lover Avenge. This was actually a surprise because, like I said, I think there were a lot in between the original brothers, and, like, Fury was our last brother book, I want to say, and then we got into, like, characters that aren't brothers, and I really was dying for John Matthew's book, and I was like, why are we getting Revenge's book? Give me John Matthew, like, now. But Revenge's book was good. I liked him and Elena's story. I really like Elena. I love how she's a nurse and how they met, because Revenge has some drug issues, but it was good. I liked it, but it wasn't, like, amazing. I didn't love Revenge. I really enjoyed his story, and we're kind of introduced to the whole sympath thing, which is really cool, but He's not a favorite, but I really enjoyed his book. This next one I think has moved down on my list because of how this character acted in The Chosen, and that is Lover at Last. I was dying for this book. For like 3 books, I've wanted this book. Since John Matthews, I think we get Pain and Manny's, which is coming up, and we got Tours, and then we got this book. And I had a huge anticipation. Look how giant these books were in the beginning. This is pretty much 600 pages. And Blay and Quinn have been angsty and annoying for 3 books, and you're dying for their book. And I really liked it, but like I said, Quinn is just so mean in The Chosen, and I really hate his character. So thinking back to this book, I'm like, but I really don't like Quinn. I love Blay, but Quinn is really annoying in like 90% of this book. I think it takes 80% of the book to like finally make a decision about their relationship, because Quinn is just like really obnoxious. So not a huge fan of Quinn's character, but still this romance was so angsty and so good, and I'm glad she finally did an romance. I think she said that if she wrote this series later, like when this book was published, she totally would have made Butch and Vicious a thing, but because she was writing it in the early 2000s when wasn't really mainstream, she didn't. So that was an interesting fact. The next one's a surprise to me, so I'm on to number 7, and that is The Shadows, and this one is Trez's story, and going into this one, I really had no idea what to expect. Trez and are kind of always in the background as the bouncers with Hex, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I did know something really heartbreaking was gonna happen because I was just on The King, which is right before this when I went to the Savior event, and everybody said The Shadows just breaks your heart, and they said that Trez and Selena were gonna have their own novella come Christmas, and people are like, oh good, because we deserve a happy ending for them, and I was like, excuse me. And so it's very heartbreaking. I think what I really loved most about this book too was Trez and Iam's relationship. We get more of the shadow, I don't know if they're called shadows, that kind of colony. So we got the Sympaths, and then we got this kind of branch of creature, and I really enjoyed that, and I cried. This was the only Black Dagger Brotherhood book I've cried in, and it wasn't over the romance. It was because of Trez and Iam that I cried. It was just really good, and I liked Iam's storyline as well. I wish we got a book for him. That would have been really cool, because I really liked the whole, he was, does spoilers matter? I don't know. His whole conflict with what he was expected to do, Trez, and how that turned out. It was really cool, so I really like that, and yeah. I'm excited for that novella. I am really concerned though, because like Trez meets someone later on, and that's just like kind of dropped, and we haven't learned more about it. So maybe that's what the novella is going to be. I don't know, but I really enjoyed this. Number 6 is Lover Eternal. This is Rage's first book with Mary, and I was thinking that this was not as high on my list as it is now, but I was remembering when I got into this book, I was in the Bahamas. I brought this with me. This was almost exactly a year ago. This was in July that I went to the Bahamas over 4th of July week, and I devoured this book, and I was like, wow, it's so good. Now I really want to read the rest of the series. So this really jumped my obsession with this series. After reading this, I wanted to read every other book after it. I really enjoyed Rage and Mary and Rage's dragon. I thought that was such a cool aspect that's not really in any of the other books. I mean, except for with Rage, I thought it was cool that that happened, and so I got a lot more into the series in this book and understood so much more, and it kind of just like clicked with this book, so that's why this book is number 6 for me. The next book for me is going to be Lovermine, and this is John Matthew and Hex's story. Again, like I said, I was like waiting and waiting like 2 or 3 books for their story. John Matthew we meet in like book 2, I want to say, when he's a pre-trans, and so we saw so much of him until he finally changes, and then he's gonna get his own book, and there's so much angst because Hex is so damaged and John Matthew is so damaged, and this book is just so good. And talk about major crazy plot lines. Like, I was freaking out through this whole thing. I feel like a lot of the beginning books have really crazy plot lines because like people are kidnapped, you don't know how they're gonna be saved, and I love that. And I love what she did with Hex's character because Hex is such a strong female and she can take care of herself, which I loved, so this was so good. The next book is number 4, and I don't think a lot of people are gonna agree with me on this, but I, for some reason, am obsessed obsessed with the guy in this book, and that is Lover Unleashed, and that is Manny and Pain. I loved Pain and meeting her and seeing her fight with Wrath and then breaking her back and having to get fixed. But I really loved their romance. Manny, for some reason, just like, I grew so attached to him, and I love him, and he's one of my favorite brothers. This is number 4 on my list. He's my 4th favorite. I mean, he's not a brother. Male characters in the series. He's my 4th favorite male character in this series. That's saying something. So I just like really loved his book, and I love Pain and Manny, and I love how Pain is new to the world because she's not introduced until later. I can't even tell you who her character is if you haven't read this yet, and I wish we got more of them later on in the series. Like, we meet Manny a lot. I feel like we rarely have ever seen Pain throughout the series, and I wish they came up more as a main couple getting a side plot line because I miss them, and I love Manny. I only have 3 left, so number 3 is going to be Lover Unbound, and that is Vicious's story. Vicious is such an interesting, complex character, especially with his relationship with Butch, and so I really love the conversations that go on, I think in this book, between Vicious and Butch, and their feelings for each other, and how they're dealing with their lives. V is a very damaged person as well, and does a little bit of dark stuff to deal with his dark side, and I loved it. His relationship with Jane is awesome, and Jane is so integral to the rest of the series, and so I recently read, what book did I read that they were a huge part of? They're a huge part of Manny and Pain's book, and they were recently a part of another book, and Vicious, his decisions were like kind of really bothering me, but whatever. I think it was The Thief that they were really part of. I'm pretty sure Vicious is J.R. Ward's favorite brother, so he gets a lot of page time. I really enjoy him when we get him, but I don't need as much as we've been getting, but I really loved his book. We're down to my top 2, and I really didn't want to make a choice, and you guys know who's left. And I feel like not in the majority for one of them, and I feel like everybody loves my top 1. So I've narrowed it down, and Butch is number 2. A lot of people don't like Butch. Like, Sarah and Lacey were in a group text, and they hate Butch. And they're just, Sarah is either recently read it or is struggling to get through Butch's book. Sarah, my best friend Sarah from Works with Sarah. And I love Butch so much. I don't know why. Even my sister isn't like the biggest fan of Butch, and I'm kind of obsessed with him. And like I said, I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's just because he became so close to them as an outsider, and he's one of the first outsiders that really became part of the Brotherhood, and so I love him. And you didn't know if he was going to be a vampire or not, because you're like, he's human, how is he going to be in this world, and how is he going to fall in love with a vampire? And I love how Marissa was in book 1. Butch is just the best, and I got so much of him in Blood Kiss, and I was just flailing all over about it, and I was just loving it, and I love Butch. That's why I have my own sweatshirt for Butch. Let me show you. I have a cricket, and so I made, it says Caldwell Police Department, and then it has Butch's last name on the back because I'm that obsessed with Butch. Yes. This is a very long video, but coming at number 1 is Zadist with Lover Awakened. Yes, I have the beautiful hardback, and I paid like $10 for it, even though it's worth like $100, and I'm so happy. But Zadist is your definition of a broken hero. You get his damaged soul in books 1 and 2. You're waiting for his romance with him and Bella, and you feel really bad because Fury's there too and doing his own thing and being jealous, but and this is another point where something bad happens, so Zadist has to do something, and he's just so damaged because of it, and he doesn't think anybody should love him, and he's just so heartbroken over his slave bands and his past, and we get flashbacks to his past, and it's just so heartbreaking and so good, and I just love Z, and I want to hug him because he's just such an angry sweetie, and you just love him. And I love Father Mine, the novella. So good. If you've read the series and haven't read that short story novella thing, you have to, because it's about him and Bella possibly having a child, so it's so good, and he's just so broken still. And if you just like a damaged hero, Zadist is the one to love, and he is my number 1, with Butch closely second behind. And those are my Black Dagger Brotherhood books ranked from favorite to least favorite. Let me know down below your top 3. I want to know your top 3 books / top 3 brothers. If you agree with me, if anybody loves Manny and Butch as much as I do, because I really love them. I feel like Manny should be moved up and Vicious should be moved down. But I loved V's book so much that I feel like V's book itself is number 3, but I like Manny more than V. Yeah, so that's all I have for you. Let me know down below your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.